on my cell phone, and I was just eating an apple. It took a picture of me for the thumbnail, I think, while I was eating my apple. I don't know if I will be able to see your comments since I've never done a live on my cell phone, but I'll wait and see. Um, so where did we leave off? Well, let me just do my normal routine where I start out by saying that everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion, hoping to be educational and to be educated. All my videos are made specifically for YouTube, and it's an entertainment platform. So I was live on my laptop and the battery was dying and I can't find my power cord at the moment. So I'm doing my first live from my cell phone. The only thing, let's see. Oh, I can see you, Mark Molina. Hey, very cool. This is so neat. So there's always, silver lining on every cloud. And I see Elise, good morning. So I'm not going to try to pin your comments because I don't want to push my luck, but I'm just happy that I can go live, that I can see your comments. Army for Jesus, what's up, girl? How are you? And Alistair Grant, still here, got a notification. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for sticking with me, you guys. Phantasmic Ether, haven't seen you in forever. Hey, lovely lady. And let's see, the print is so teeny tiny. Great to catch a live stream. So this is my very first live stream on my freaking cell phone. So it's super exciting. Every time I say super exciting, I think of Shanann Watts. That was how she would talk in all of her Facebook Live things. So share, subscribe, ring your notification bell, and here's my little like button. Hit your like button if you'd be so kind. And yeah, we were in the middle of talking about the Idaho 4. And where'd we leave off? I think one of the things that I was saying that I wanted to continue to discuss is how ridiculous, absolutely ludicrous it was for me, in my opinion, to hear the police asking suspects to come and have conversations with them. Like, pretty please, we'll bake you some cookies and bring you milk too. Um, just bizarre. Like, these cases have been really bizarre. This is why I've been kind of stringing together Kylie Rodney, Idaho 4, and now the Maui disaster, because things are so strange. And I think that it's so apparent that these people in positions of authority are saying crazy things and people aren't questioning them because they're in positions of authority and they're just taking these ludicrous comments at face value, like the thing about, please come talk to us. We just want to talk to the people that were in that car. And they definitely, I've looked at it again and again, they definitely alluded to it was multiple individuals in that car. It was more than one. We want to talk to them, I think, is some of the verbiage that I remember Chief Fry saying. And these things are important. You know, people give away so much every time they open their mouth that they might not be trying to give away, they might not be aware of. We'll even dunk the cookies for you. That's awesome. Fantastic. Phantasmic Ether, you're cracking me up. I can't even talk. Because of Shanann, I learned about Thrive and lost 85 freaking pounds. What? Army, are you serious? That's crazy. That beautiful woman is still changing lives. Just saying, rest in peace, Shanann Watts. Absolutely. Bella, Cece, and Nico. Well, since you brought it up again, I brought it up a minute ago, but now you're bringing it up. And I saw that Armchair Detective was doing a live last night and talking about still getting justice in the form of the mistress being scrutinized more thoroughly. And, that's another case where there were crazy things that were said by people in positions of authority, like the DA. We are confident that she told us the truth most of the time. What? If there was one lie, then that should be of interest. For some reason, my image has gotten really dark. Is it dark for you guys too, or did it not change? And again, it might just be the ridiculous sun coming and going behind clouds. Like I said, I have the room not completely sealed off from natural light, but I thought it was close enough. The lighting is crazy. Luckily, I have my ring light, which I had kind of abandoned because I don't like the ring lights. I like the straight ones instead. But maybe the ring light is the way to go. So let's see. Since last August, so in a year, you lost 85 pounds. Wow. That is so wild. Um, and yeah, the things that were said in that Watts case, just crazy stuff. Like these people in positions of authority that are either corrupt straight up or they're buffoons straight up. And I wouldn't say that one is necessarily any better than the other. And either way, if they're failing to do their jobs, they're failing to do their jobs. They know or should know how to do their jobs. So if they're not doing them, like in the Watts case, with the investigators going and visiting Chris, what was it, 4 months after his sentencing, when they went to Wisconsin, like, that's so strange. That's so strange. And good for them that they were following up, but were they hoping to get more information? I mean, why in the world would they spend all that time and effort traveling there and talking to him for 5 hours? 5 hours. Um, Tammy, the investigator in the Watts case, said that she felt like it was incomplete, the investigation from her perspective, because when Chris confessed, they stopped the clock. They stopped investigating, and that's not normal. It's not normal. Like somebody who's going to do that or say that they did that is not somebody that you can believe when they tell you a story. All they're doing is telling you a story. So, the Watts case is dear to my heart because those girls and Nico, 4 months in utero, and Cece, 3 years old, Bella, I think she was going to be turning 5 soon. Cece had just turned 3. And you see these pictures of them from like a week before it happened, you guys. Like the pictures of the girls at the beach with their father. That was the trip that they had just come back from, what, like 3 days before the end? And he was only there for like 6 or 7 days. So those photographs from the beach of Chris playing with Bella and Cece in the water are absolutely no more than 10 days before it happened, and probably more like just a week or less before it happened, because I think that beach trip was towards the end of his time there. But it's just so fresh. I mean, I know it was 5 years ago, but 5 years is not a long time when it comes to situations like this, and especially for Shanann's family. I mean, her brother and her parents, I know they're absolutely devastated, and they don't like people talking about it online, which I can't understand why. If they, I can't imagine that they would think that justice is complete with the situation as it stands. So anyway, breaks my heart, but let's get back to, I'm excited for you, Army. That's super cool. And then keeping it off is the hardest part. So I'm not going to try to read all your lovely comments just because it's so tiny, but I see that you guys are making some great comments. So let's go back to talking about the incomplete investigation in Moscow, right? So what, they arrest one person and stop the investigation when they don't know if that person is, he's supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. So they should still be investigating. They still should be going to Africa and interviewing Jack S., if that's still where he is. But for someone to leave the country the morning after people that they know, people that they were hanging out with that night, are eliminated, like a normal person would cancel their trip or they'd come right back. I mean, seriously, a normal person would come right back and say, oh my goodness, holy kaboli, like, let me talk to the authorities and see what I can do to help. I mean, you'd be devastated. You wouldn't just like stay in Africa unless you had something to hide, in my humble opinion. So I'm very suspicious of law enforcement in Idaho 4. And I saw that 1111 Tarot is doing an intuitive reading on the lead detective on a live tonight. So I'm excited about that. I know she was kind of taking a break from things. But I have been very suspicious of that fella. Just the fact that we were lied to about his age. We were told he was 26 when he was 33. We were lied to about Bethany and Dylan's ages. We were told that they were 19 when they were both 21. I think they're both 22 now. Like the lies, sometimes misinformation is just misinformation, but sometimes it's disinformation. And neither of those numbers, the 26 and the 19, I've never heard them be corrected or clarified in mainstream media. I've never heard it be addressed. I've addressed it a bunch of times. I know other content creators have, but that's really strange. I mean, it's fine for mainstream media to say, oh, well, we were misinformed or we made a mistake. But mainstream media seems so freaking bent on painting Koberger as the villain. And when they're so bent on it, that is more grounds for suspicion, in my opinion. So, like, they should be neutral. A good investigative journalist, a good journalistic reporter is neutral and just presents the information for the viewer to consume and weigh and decide what they think. Investigative journalists are not supposed to be trying to sell you an opinion. Like that's not even my opinion. That's just by definition. So the fact that every mainstream media that I've seen has really vilified the criminal defendant. And I don't know that the situation warrants that at all. In fact, let's just say that he is guilty. Let's just say that he is. That type of slanted reporting could possibly make it impossible for him to have a fair trial, and theoretically he could get off on that technicality that he didn't get a fair trial. And would that be so disgusting? I mean, I sure hope nothing like that happens. That would just make us all crazy, wouldn't it? But honestly, the more that we learn, the more that I learn about the case, the more convinced I am that the whole thing is a sham, an absolute sham. I think that there was a lot going on in that house. There was a lot going on with all these gorgeous, gorgeous girls. And let's just be frank. We know that females tend to be catty and competitive. And Maddie and Kaylee, being seniors, were kind of the top bananas, it seems like, in their social circles. So, especially Kaylee, Kaylee was very alpha, to use Steve Gonzalez's word. Um, and, you know, she was ambitious. And, we've got this information that she bought a $26,000 used Range Rover just a few days before this happened, that she had $7,000 cash on the barrelhead. It is not a crime to ask the question, where did she get that money? It's not unreasonable, and it's actually extremely reasonable because she's a college kid. She's just graduating. That's a lot of cash, even for someone that age to have on hand to be able to afford that. And perhaps she did earn it, but how come that information is not out there? Perhaps she borrowed it, and perhaps she borrowed it from a friend or family and didn't tell anybody, not even her parents. Perhaps it was a gift from somebody. I mean, you don't know, but following the money is always a good place to start. I wanted to talk with you guys about missing the obvious because when we're getting gaslit, I think it's really easy to miss the obvious. And from my favorite movie, Zero Effect, the two obs: be observant, be objective, and don't miss the obvious. So this is how you can find the truth. Be objective, be observant, and don't miss the obvious. Sometimes it's so easy to miss the obvious. And I'm sorry that I'm not reading your comments out loud. They're just so itty bitty on my cell phone that I'm afraid I'll just be like this, squinting at the print. But I do appreciate you guys commenting and being here. So that movie is incredibly instructive, in my opinion. Zero Effect. It's just it's like it's a murder mystery comedy rom-com. It stars Bill Pullman and Ben Stiller, Ryan O'Neal. It was the first movie he was in after like a 20-year blacklisted in Hollywood kind of thing. Ben Stiller plays it straight, like he's not being the funny guy, and he's not starring in it. He's co-starring. Bill Pullman is the lead, and it's just a really well done movie. It was what they call a sleeper. When it was made, it was a independent film. I think it was made in like 96, and it won all these like Sundance Film Festival awards, and nobody really paid much attention to it. And then a few years later, it became really popular, and it was like you were super cool if you knew Zero Effect. So if you guys want to be super cool and you don't know Zero Effect, watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. It's, just a regular like 2-hour movie. And like I said, it has a lot of excellent instructions, basically. So anyway, it's so easy to miss the obvious. Like, obviously, we had Kaylee and Maddie getting a lift home from the grub truck. Who was it that drove them home? Why is that so top secret? And did they drive them home? Or were they part of some orchestrated event as well? It's a fair question. The two are no longer of the living. It's a very fair question to ask of anyone who had anything to do with them recently, but especially in those last moments. And who the heck was the DoorDash delivery? If there even was a DoorDash delivery, you guys, like, I don't buy any of the stuff at face value. I just don't. I've never bought into the texts to Jack D from Kaylee's phone and Maddie's phone. I've never believed that those were definitely from the two young women. They could have been from anybody using their phones. And same with the comments that Xana allegedly made on TikTok. Queen, that last comment? And wasn't it to a post, not Emma Bailey's brother, but some other individual that is, oh, I'm forgetting the name, you guys know. The brother and sister that live up behind 1122 King Road. The siblings that one of them probably has something to do with Emma and Demetrius, you guys, like, come on. These two were arrested for the fatality of Caden Young, and then they're just like sprung like that on what the technicality that they were arrested in Washington or in Moscow when the passing away happened in Washington State. So why aren't those charges being refiled through the appropriate channels? I mean, a kid lost his life. It sounds to me like they might be confidential informants for law enforcement. It sounds to me like there's a lot of fishy business going on. And nobody wants to make accusations or tarnish anyone's reputation, but it seems pretty obvious that deals were happening at the party house. Like, how can you call it a party house and then try to say, oh, it was just alcohol? Like, that doesn't make sense. A party house is not just alcohol, in my opinion. It's a fact, in my opinion. So especially with the parents that have a history of getting arrested for substance possession and potential distribution. I think from jump when this happened in Moscow, people's knee-jerk reaction was that it smacked of thugs and dealers making threats by hurting family members. It smacked of it, you guys. Like, you don't have quadruple slayings happen in the middle of college campuses. Not since Ted Bundy and the other freak in Gainesville. I mean, in this day and age, with all the surveillance cameras, all the cell phones, all the Series and the other one that starts with an A, who's like right next to me, so I'm not doing it. You're just, all of this stuff is going to be recorded. People are not going to be able to get away with it. And they know that they're not going to be able to get away with it. But then we have to remember the whole, like, blackout of the internet on campus. Like, looking at the obviousness of the SWAT team incident a month later, 7 miles down the road. I mean, I knew the moment that that happened that the chances of these two things not being related was unlikely because these are small communities and because these are both epic events. And then the speed at which law enforcement said they're not related, highly suspicious. Like, if they would have said, apparently they're not related, I would have bought it a lot easier than just, hours into it and saying they're not related. I mean, how do you know? It might take more than a couple hours to investigate to find out. Like, really, did they investigate thoroughly in just a few hours? Crazy. And the gaslighting just makes your head spin. It's so ridiculous. So I really wanted to talk thoroughly about some of these issues with the Idaho 4 case. I do also want to touch on some of the gaslighting insanity with Maui and with Kylie Rodney. I mean, all three of these cases are just where my heart is. And Maui is crazy, you guys. Let me just tell you my opinion about Maui. One of the most telling pieces of evidence, in my opinion, is that I don't see people stepping forward and talking about, and when I say people, I mean like rich, famous people, high profile people. Normally in situations like this, they will come forward. I remember with the hurricane in New Orleans, it was Brad and Angelina that stepped forward and said, wow, we own property there. We love New Orleans. And they kind of started the ball rolling. There's usually significant high profile people like that that will get involved with these types of tragedies and try to help get a grassroots intervention going. And the only person I really see doing that is this guy on the Hawaii real estate, Eric West. And I think that he seems extremely credible. And he's a white guy. He's kind of, what would you say, upper middle class or higher as far as socioeconomically. He's got a lot of clout, and he also knows how to do YouTube, and he's doing everything in his power to get the information out there. And it seems like he's getting threatened. He's getting shot down. It's not stopping him, but it seems like people are trying to stop him. Why would people be trying to stop him? If he was just talking crazy, like who would care if he was just some whack job conspiracy theorist? But the whole situation, I mean, without even getting into great details, again, just with the person in charge and their cockamamie sales pitch of, oh, I didn't want to sound the alarm because I was afraid that these idiots would think it was a tsunami and run straight into the fire. Like, come on. Like, that doesn't even make sense. And if you thought that, you should be embarrassed to admit that you thought that. I don't think he thought that. I think that was a cover story. I think that he thought that that lie was much better than all of the truths that he's trying to hide. I don't think it was a coincidence that all of these people that were in top positions of authority dealing with public safety were all off island. I don't think it's a coincidence that the water was turned off. I mean, the power sounds like should have been turned off as it was, but the water, no, absolutely not. That's crazy. And then for the fires that happened just a few days ago, they used the tsunami alarm, they used water, they used the airplanes dropping the reddish powdery stuff out of them. I don't even know what that is. It's like sand or something. I'm sure it's a fire retardant, but they did all the things that you're supposed to do that they didn't do a couple weeks ago on August 8th with this crazy fire that burned down this historic town where mostly locals lived and worked and thrived. And there's another real estate channel, I'll put a link to it in the description, that this guy, and his real estate channel, I think is called Maui Real Estate. He's got a house that's in the one block that's in the middle of Lahaina. I think I said it right. Fingers crossed. He's got a house in that one block that wasn't burned. And I watched his video about it, and it's just crazy. It's crazy. I know that fire can jump around like that, but this fire was way too hot. Way too hot. And then going back to the 19-year-old that was in the Navy that didn't get notified about his town burning down until 4 days after it burned down. And then he immediately flew there. And he says that his aunt and her husband and his 7-year-old cousin, and then I think there's another cousin, I think it was 4 of them, that were in the car. They were trying to leave the house. They all perished in the car, in their driveway. And they were the first 4 people to be identified and documented as fatalities. So I was desperately trying to find that video again yesterday. And I hope that is not taken down. I hope that I can find it. Um, but it was just so heartbreaking. And this 19-year-old young man was just like numb. Like, I don't think he shed a tear. I mean, you could see visibly how shaken he was and heartbroken, but also probably it was so surreal. It probably hadn't really sunk in. But how many stories like that are we not hearing? I think that there's a lot of push to suppress information, and there shouldn't be. There absolutely shouldn't be. And if there is, then why? That's not just for the heck of it. So this is my theory. This is my theory, and I'm going to just say it, and I'm going to just go with it. My theory is that no famous people are stepping forward to fight for Maui and for Lahaina because they don't want to get blacklisted in Hollywood. And the people that are these heavy hitters, these rainmaker billionaires, they don't want to cross them. They don't want to step on their toes. I believe that this is why there's not people coming forward and organizing. So I'm going to reiterate, because I don't think that I'm the only one thinking this. I'm kind of taking my cues from all of the videos that I see of boots on the ground, that people need to visit Maui right now. If you have the ability, if you have the means, the availability, do everything you can to get there in person if you are able. If you're not able to get there in person, but you're able to do whatever it is that you can do, just putting the word out, helping financially, do what you can. This community of people that lost everything and lost a lot of people dear to their hearts, I think more than anything right now, they need hope. But they need a lot of money. They need a lot of rebuilding. And it's like probably the most expensive place in the world to visit. Definitely one of the most expensive places. And I think of all the Hawaiian Islands, I think it's the most expensive. I think that both Maui and Kauai were more expensive, which is why when I went there, you know, the Big Island was kind of the most affordable. And then Oahu is just the most populated and publicized, and I was curious, but I did not like Oahu. I mean, I really didn't like Honolulu or Waikiki. Some people like that kind of thing, not my cup of tea. I loved the Big Island. Again, not Kona, but Hilo and all of the surrounding areas. And I have always wanted to go to Maui and Kauai. It's just, I don't have $10,000 to burn. And even going to one of these less expensive islands, you still burn through a few $1,000s. It's kind of like going to Disneyland. It'll take everything you have and then some. So I think that the call for tourists is loud and clear. They need people to come visit. People there need jobs. They need people to be spending their money. Of course, donations are good too, but a lot of folks are too proud to accept donations, and it's not so much sustaining, and people need to have a sustaining source of income, obviously. So I personally think that there is going to be a grassroots movement. I put it in my title yesterday, like, what was it? Kind of Maui with a mission, like vacation with purpose. But I really think it's important. I'm kind of planting seeds in my family to try to make a Christmas trip out of Maui. I don't know that we'll be able to swing it time-wise and money-wise, but I think it's worth looking into, worth trying. And I want to encourage everybody who's watching to do the same and to talk about it and think about it and just put the word out on the streets. I think that it's a thing, and that the more that the sooner the better, that, when I talk about going there for Christmas, like that's kind of soon, but I think they need people there right now today. A lot of people. They need people to come and spend their money and care and get involved and, rebuilding, but most of all, building hope. Really, really important. And if you can't do anything else, just pray for these people, pray for the community. Um, it's huge. And the power of crowdsourcing prayer, I believe in. I have felt the power myself. So, before we wrap up today, where are we at? We're at 35 minutes. I can't believe it. I think the first video was just 20 minutes. And thanks so much for checking out both videos. For those of you I see the names, that it's most of the same people, and I really appreciate that. Let's talk about Kylie Rodney before we wrap up. Like, what's up with that? Where's the report from the California Highway Patrol? It does not take 12 months to write a report for a car accident, you guys. What are they doing? Are they going to drag it out for eternity? Is that what we're seeing? I mean, unless they're investigating it for real and they're just keeping a super low profile, which wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? And again, the last people to have contact with a person who mysteriously loses their life, the last people to have contact with them over the phone, through text, or in person, those are your persons of interest / potential primary suspects. One sec, hold on. So with Kylie Rodney, obviously we have the person who spearheaded all the searches. And how ludicrous is that? We're going to allow an 18-year-old who is obviously lying because she can't even keep her story straight in one conversation. We're going to allow her to spearhead the search. I mean, searches are difficult and they're complicated, and they need to be organized, orchestrated by professionals. And everybody who cares usually wants to get involved, especially the family. To have the mother say, well, I don't know how to search for somebody, I'll just leave it to the professionals. Like, again, at first I bought that. I was like, oh, okay. And then when it set in, it was like, no way. If your kid was missing, you would not be able to eat or sleep or do anything other than try to find them. Period. In my humble opinion, that is, again, an absolute fact. I mean, our kids are the most precious. Like, all we want to do is protect our kids. All we want to do is to protect their lives with our own lives. For the most part, most of us would lay down on the train tracks to save our kids in a New York minute, split second, without even thinking. But then you've got parents that will actually commit crimes against their own kids, and even to the point of a fatality. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It is literally the definition of crazy. I call it a momentary lapse of reasoning that can last for a long time. Again, Chris Watts. And, protecting our children is just a natural instinct. And even if we are villainous and doing the unthinkable, we will usually, I think most criminals would try to pretend that they're protecting their kids. They would try to pretend that they're looking. They wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, well, I got bills to pay. I got better things to do. I got bigger fish to fry. Like, come on, there's absolutely nothing. absolutely nothing that would even hold a candle to that. And just the lack of publicly, we didn't see the mourning that you would expect to see. I think that her mother tried to fake it on camera a couple times. And she even had that one interview, the one where she was like making out with Sammy, where she said, or was it on a different day? I think it was that same day where she said, you know, if it wasn't for the people behind me holding me up, you wouldn't know, or you would think that I was faking it, or you would be able to tell that I was just faking it. It was a very peculiar word for her to select. And let me talk about the whole making out with Sammy thing, because Mark Molina has a 35-minute-ish video of that situation that he plays in ultra slow motion. And I think it's very valuable. I think it's very informative. And it wasn't until seeing it in slow motion that I saw so differently that it looks to me like Lindsay is trying to threaten and intimidate Sammy when she's hugging her from behind. And it looks, she kisses her on the cheek, and then she's whispering in her ear, and she's like holding her by the throat, you guys. And I don't think it was all just friendly lovey-dovey. I mean, it looked really disgusting and lovey-dovey at first glance, but I think that she was threatening Sammy. Whatever it was that she said to Sammy shook up that girl so much that she couldn't think straight. So I think it's important to check out Mark Molina's video. It is slow and hard to watch. There's no background music or anything, but I would recommend it highly, and you could just play your own background music. So I will put the link to Mark Molina's video into my description later today. It might take me longer than normal to get to that, since my power cord on my laptop is MIA, and for some reason I can't access my lives on my cell phone for the first like 24 hours. It's like they're not uploaded, so it's frustrating. Whatever editing I need to do on the description and the title, I have to do it from my laptop. So I'll be searching for that power cord. In the meantime, I want to thank you all. Thank you. Sish Vicious is here. Oh, I'm so sorry again. Hey, Mark. And MC the cat, Casey the cat. Divine Justice, aka Mrs. G. Oh, you guys, now I don't want to hang up. I feel like it's a phone call that I want to stay on. It's funny. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. I am just so truly touched and flattered that anybody watches my stuff. I'm not trying to be like some big YouTuber. I'm just trying to get my opinion out there, because I feel like I have a lot to say about these cases, because I feel like a lot of it is from my own life experience and what I've seen up close. And I've seen corruption up close. I've seen buffoons up close. I told you guys, when I worked for King County Superior Court, I had to sue King County Superior Court. That was eye-opening. I mean, until that happened, I was so naive, and I didn't think I was naive. But honestly, I think I'm still naive. I mean, I've seen a lot, I've been around the block, but there's so much BS that's out there. You know, I think I'm naive to buy these people's stories at face value. I think I was very naive to not want to question Kylie's mother. I really didn't want to question her integrity for the longest time. It probably wasn't until the celebration of life, where she was lashing out at YouTubers. Why do all of these cases have that in common? Moscow, Maui, They all want to lash out at social media. Like, why do you freaking care what social media is doing? If it's all a bunch of conspiracy theory BSers, why would you give it a moment's thought? Why would you talk about it on camera? But when Kylie Rodney's mother was weaponizing her and bashing strangers on social media who apparently care about her child, and that's when I got suspicious. And she was just saying the craziest stuff, like, get a hobby. It's like, you don't know these people. Like, I mean, come on. For instance, I have too many hobbies, right? I mean, I still have a full-time job, believe it or not. I have 4 kids. I have my YouTube hobby. I've got my jewelry making. I sew clothes and fabrics and curtains and all kinds of stuff. I still garden. I still do my yard work. I still do way too many things. But to me, making time for YouTube is one of my top priorities because it's a truth serum for me. And there's so much BS and effery going on. Um, so you guys are super important to me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today's August 30th. Tonight is our blue supermoon. And it's also exactly a year ago today was when I made my first video. I looked it up yesterday and it was a 50-minute video. I might have to watch it, but I don't know. I used to not watch my own videos because I was afraid that it would just be too difficult. But I think it's good to watch my own videos to, try to help me progress and learn and see what I can improve on. So yeah, I'm amazed that my first video was 50 minutes long and I didn't even realize that. I thought it was much shorter. I know my third video that kind of went viral was, I want to say 18 minutes. And then the one in between those two, I don't know. But it was August 30th, August 31st, and then September 2nd. And I had said a few days ago that I think I might have taken September 1st off in honor of the victim's birthday. But it might be that I made a video outside and then I had trouble uploading it. So I know that that happened right around there. I think I did. I think that that was the one that I did out in the garden and then lost it in the uploading process. So anyway, I misremembered and I thought that maybe I took a day off just to honor Kylie, but that's kind of how it turned out. So that's nice because, we need to honor these victims. We truly need to honor these victims and their families, if their families are being victimized as well. And, it just goes without saying that that's the most important part of it all, is to help these people who've been so wronged, like unbelievably wronged. So on that, you guys, I'm going to do my peace out and sending you light, sending you love. Make sure you drink your agua. It's so funny. It's like echoing in my water bottle. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's been bothering me and I couldn't figure out what it was. It's funny. Anyway, make sure you eat your protein and your fruits and veggies, get exercise, sunshine, fresh air. So important, the fresh air, just getting outside. And being kind to yourself, being kind to other people, and on YouTube and in real life, just kindness, a little goes a long way. So think about Maui. Think about what you can do for these people, how you can get your energy there, your financial resources, or your prayers, or both. Like I said, I really think it's going to be a big movement, and hopefully there'll be setups where lodging won't be so expensive, because that's usually the most expensive part of a trip. And, The airplane tickets obviously can be super expensive too, but usually it's the lodging, it's the going out to eat. So if you can get a good deal on a place to stay because they're trying to get folks to come and help, and then you're still spending money on food and you're still helping the community, because let's face it, the people that own the fancy resorts are corporate. So they're not necessarily needing the money. It's the people that work there that need the money. People that work in hospitality typically don't make very much money, and it's very hard work. So if the corporate entities that own these resorts would give people hot deals on staying there, and then people could come and still tip their housekeepers and, you know, just drop as much money as possible all through the community and get a wonderful vacation out of the deal, you know, kind of a working vacation, like a mission for Maui. All right, you guys, peace out. Thanks again. And how do I end a live? I'm just going to hit this and see what happens. And